China isn't about to invade Taiwan. But the two sides are on a dangerous path. The dramatic statement came after China sent its highest number of warplanes yet into the skies above waters southwest of the island. But despite the rhetoric and the military saber-rattling, analysts agree China is unlikely to invade Taiwan anytime soon, with one expert adding the chance of invasion in the next 12 months is close to zero. Beijing has cast waves of aggression toward the island ever since the former nationalist government fled there at the end of the Chinese Civil War in 1949. Despite Beijing's most recent aerial maneuvers, life goes on as normal in Taiwan's capital, Taipei. The public is largely unconcerned about the threat of invasion, and the regular incursions barely warrant a mention on the front page of newspapers. But that doesn't mean there's no reason for alarm, and experts worry that if Chinese Communist Party leaders believe they have no hope of a peaceful reunification, they may turn to more drastic measures to fulfill their ambitions. China's red lines. In the first 5 days of October, more than 150 planes from China's People's Liberation Army Air Force entered Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, the area surrounding the island where Taipei says it will respond to any incursions.
Although Taiwan and China have been separately governed for more than 70 years, Beijing views the democratic island of 24 million people as part of its territory and has regularly stated its aim of reunification despite the fact Taiwan has never been ruled by the Chinese Communist Party. But despite Beijing's best efforts, Taiwan has gained more global influence since early 2020. And the support extends beyond Asia-Pacific. For example, in September, Lithuania became the first European nation in decades to allow Taiwan to have a diplomatic mission under its own name. Taiwan's closer relations with the United States have emboldened it on the world stage. Under the Trump administration in 2020, Taiwan welcomed some of its highest-profile U.S. visitors in decades, and to Beijing's frustration, the Biden administration has not reversed that trend. J. Michael Cole, a Taipei-based senior fellow with Global Institute Taiwan, said the growing tensions between the US and China had also helped Taiwan boost its profile. Taiwan realizes that the international community is becoming a little bit more accommodating to Taiwan, more understanding of the role that Taiwan as a liberal democracy has to play in this growing clash of ideologies, he said. Rather than a prelude to an invasion, the increased Chinese flyovers are a symbol of Beijing's frustration and a reminder to Taiwan and the US not to cross China's red lines, said Bonnie Glasser, director of the Asia program at the German Marshall Fund of the United States. She said those red lines, which if crossed could spark a military escalation from Beijing, include campaigning for formal Taiwan independence or a decision to deploy large numbers of US troops to the island. China wants to keep Taiwan in a box and it is using more and more coercion against Taiwan. They want to intimidate Taiwan, she said. By putting pressure on Taiwan, President Xi Jinping is trying to shore up support ahead of the 2022 Chinese Communist Party Congress. That's when Xi's second term ends, though it's almost certain he'll stay on as president. Wen T-Sung, a fellow at the Australian Centre on China in the World at the Australian National University, said 11 also wants to garner support ahead of a meeting of the Communist Party in November where a short list of candidates for higher office will be finalised. A strong policy on Taiwan could determine how many allies he can place in top positions for the next 5 years. At a moment like this, using some show of force to drum up nationalist sentiment, create a rally around the flag effect, is usually a good thing for the incumbent, for the commander-in-chief, he said. China's peaceful reunification goal. In a speech on October 9th, the Chinese president emphasized his desire for peaceful reunification with Taiwan, and appeared to imply he was prepared to wait for the island to voluntarily comply. When I read what Xi Jinping says about Taiwan, I'm struck at the lack of urgency, Glasser said. But experts said it is hard to see what path remains for Beijing's vision of unification. Support for moving toward independence for Taiwan, meaning pursuing a future formally separate from mainland China, is at its highest point in decades, according to surveys by Taiwan's National Chiang-Kai University's Election Study Center. In June, a poll of 4,717 people in Taiwan found 25.8% want to move toward independence, while fewer than 10% want unification with mainland China. The majority opinion was to stick with the status quo for now. The sentiment for a move toward independence has more than doubled since 2018, the survey found. Some attributed the rise to Beijing's brutal treatment of Hong Kong, a major financial hub that was promised 50 years of semi-autonomous governance, only to have its civil liberties severely curtailed by Beijing after major pro-democracy protests in 2019. In light of the Hong Kong crisis, I think the appeal of a peaceful unification under a one country, two systems scenario in Taiwan is very, very low, he said. Beijing has several reasons to hope Taiwan will eventually unify voluntarily. The newly elected leader of Taiwan's opposition Kuomintang party, Eric Chu, has agreed mainland China and Taiwan belong to the same country. He has also promised to restart communication channels with Beijing if the KMT is elected in 2024. Taiwan invasion may be counterproductive. Any Chinese invasion of Taiwan won't come without warning, experts said. Before any military action against Taiwan's main island, there would likely be an attack on Taiwanese-administered islands in the South China Sea or potentially a blockade of international trade with the island, they said. In the meantime, the Chinese government is determined to pile the pressure on Taiwan. China regularly opposes Taiwan's involvement in any international forums, sometimes going to extreme lengths to dissuade countries from including the island. Even at the height of the pandemic, Beijing refused to allow Taiwan's participation in the World Health Organization, concerned it might give the impression the island was not part of China. When the issue of Taiwan's membership came up at a meeting in May, China's ambassador to the UN Chen Shu said countries should stop politicizing health issues and using Taiwan issues to interfere in China's internal affairs.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.